What's up, everyone? We're back for another episode of Locked On Bucks, and today we're talking a little bit of Summer League. We spoke yesterday that the roster hadn't officially been reported. Well, it has now, so we got a few names that we can discuss. Camille has a revelation to reveal about her feelings towards Summer League, and also a couple of Bucks players reportedly waived today, so we'll talk some roster stuff, and then we'll continue to roll through the free agency coverage as well, so let's get started.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Bucks. I'm your host, Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on this show Monday to Friday. Also fun my work over at ESPN. Alongside me, as she is every week, Camille Davis from the Technical Foul podcast, as well as Locked On Bucks, I should say. So we're happy to have Camille back here. She's just informed me that there is some severe weather in the Milwaukee area. It is currently 8:40 p.m. Central Time. So if we lose Camille, it won't be a big surprise to anyone. But we're hoping the internet will hold on. We thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen of every day. And today, Locked On Bucks is partnering with Arcade 1UP. You've heard me talk about this, but we're giving away 3 free NBA Jam Shaq machines. 3 now. Originally, there was just 1, but we're giving away 3. These are the guys known for making incredible retro 3/4 scale at-home arcade games like Pac-Man, Golden Tee, and many more as well. Mortal Kombat, I think. So enter the win at arcade1up.com/lockedon. That's arcade1up.com/lockedon. I'll talk more about that a little bit later on. And I should say a bit of scheduling news. So we understand it's the off season. I could forgive people for thinking that I want to have a break from podcasting, but you're wrong. I have locked it in with Frank. This weekend, after the Summer League opener, we're doing a weekend post-game podcast. So keep your eye out for that. We've missed basketball so much, we're doing a post-game pod on the weekend. So keep an eye out for that one. Brooklyn Nets, I believe. Big game, 6 p.m. Central Time. Rivalry game, Bucks and Nets. Make sure you tune in for that one. I don't think Kevin Durant's playing or Kyrie Irving, though, to be clear. Camille, Summer League. Actually, let's start with the roster news for today. We'll get to Summer League in a little bit. So, Luca Vildoza and Rayjon Tucker reportedly waived or going to be waived by the Milwaukee Bucks as we record this. Any immediate thoughts here, Camille?
Well, my first thought with Luca was like, man, we had that one moment during the Bulls game. We got to see a little razzle dazzle there, and that little quick, flash in the pan really had me looking forward to watching him in Summer League and just seeing if there was any more to that than, the little brief period that we saw during that game. But them cutting him makes me think like it's probably not. That's not something that they expect him to be able to do at a steady state. So I get it. I see that he was still listed on the Summer League team, so maybe he still at least plays some Summer League ball for the Bucks. But the roster moves in itself, they didn't really move the needle too much for me. It was just kind of like, okay, these are some end of the bench type of guys here that are getting cut. So it makes sense. And we'll see if they still decide to hoop for the team in Summer League.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we should say to our Argentinian friends that have jumped on board the Locked On Bucks train over the last few months, we hope you will stay with us no matter how this pans out. But I think, when there's roster moves like this, there's always some sort of desire to, what does it mean? The Brian Windhorse, why would they do that? But why would they do that? But, I think at the end of the day, these guys weren't going to play.
Right.
Unless, something really went wrong. So I agree with you. I was tweeting about Showtime, Vildoza, and everything like that in the postseason. It was really fun. I think he's an interesting guy. He's like 26 years old now. But I think ultimately for those two players as well, and particularly someone like Rayjon Tucker, who's been with the Herd multiple times, been around the organization, they probably want an opportunity as well. And they probably want to play. And they want to see whether they can get to the NBA. So, I would suspect that they'll probably play for the Bucks in Summer League. Maybe they impress another team. And maybe they get an opportunity somewhere where they're going to have a chance to play. And if they don't, based on the fact that they've been around the team, they've been working out at the facility, I suspect they'll probably be back on a training camp deal or a preseason deal, and we'll see. So, yeah, more than anything, I still just feel like it's maybe an opportunity for those two guys to get an NBA chance somewhere, which is cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's really fun about Summer League. When we were DMing before the show, and I was mentioning I'm super excited for Summer League this year. Even if you're not getting a roster spot on the team that you're playing for in Summer League, there are so many scouts, there are so many execs. All the teams are paying attention to what's going on in Summer League, so you might be able to get yourself a new contract with someone else, even if it's not the team that you're down there playing with. So Summer League's a chance to show out, which is why the games are always so interesting, because it's like it's not quite NBA level basketball, but it's like better than college. But it's like this weird, like in between level that's always really entertaining for me to watch.
Well, as we're recording this, I did just watch the first quarter of Oklahoma City and Utah, and Oklahoma City has so far maybe given the most entertaining quarter of basketball in the history of Summer League, with my guy Josh Giddey and Chet Holmgren's doing crazy stuff out there. Poku's throwing behind the back passes. So the Thunder look pretty fun, but that's why I think that if we do get a chance to watch Vildoza play in Summer League, it'll probably be pretty fun. He'll probably be doing some cool stuff. We'll get to Summer League more in a little bit, but the Bucks now basically, in terms of contracts they waived these two guys. They basically have 14 main roster guys, assuming Ibaka, that report that he's going to sign a 1-year deal as well. So, look, we've said in the past, we saw the Bucks last year. We're still a long way from the Bucks having to make final roster decisions, but last year they entered the regular season with 14 players. Of course, there could be a trade that changes the calculations here as well, but as we discussed on multiple occasions, this is a full roster. This is a full Bucks roster. They brought most of the guys back, so there's not a lot of room for those two guys at the end there. But it was interesting. I will say Twitter was expressing some disappointment for Luca getting waived, because I think we all saw it. We all saw that he is a fun player, but I think most of us would agree there's not much room for him to play. I want to get to Summer League. Let's talk about this NBA Jam situation a little bit more. Camille, would you bet, without knowing whether I'm any good at NBA Jam, that you would beat me?
Yes.
I'm not going to push back on that. I think you're probably right. You probably would. But NBA Jam is back, and Arcade 1UP, the leader in at-home retro arcade games, is not only bringing the best game ever back, but they've made it bigger than ever with a Shaq edition machine. People are obsessed with NBA Jam, even if they're not really that good at it like me. But it is one of the first sports games to ever feature real and digitized NBA licensed teams. No fouls, no free throws, no quarters required. Compete with friends and family through the all-new Wi-Fi leaderboards. They've got a bunch of other games online at arcade1up.com as well. Mortal Kombat, I mentioned. They're starting at around $399, so check them out. We're giving away 3, so all you have to do is literally go to the website, arcade1up.com. That's arcade, the number 1, up.com/locked-on, and it pops up straight away. All you have to do is add your email, and you're entered. You've only got until July 8th, which, until this morning, I forgot that that's only a couple of days away. So you better hurry up. arcade1up.com/locked-on. Enter to win one of 3 NBA Jam Shaq Edition machines. All right, you kind of gave it away, Camille. You're excited for Summer League, and I laughed at that comment, but I also agree with you. I think I'm a little excited for Summer League. Why are you excited for Summer League?
Well, one, we have a draft pick that I was excited about picking, in addition to the fact that we have a draft pick, which in itself is something to tune in to see how he does. But this is probably like the first Bucks draft pick that's been somebody who I was like, yeah, I would love for the Bucks to draft them. And he was available at the time and was actually able to be drafted by the Bucks. So I have like a person, like in addition to having an interest in the team itself, like I just thought that MarJon is just such an interesting prospect. And I love his story. Someone easy to cheer for, in addition to what he might be able to bring on the court. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he fares in this in-between land of NBA competition, I will say. And especially given the fact that Summer League ball is just so interesting, in part because a lot of guys who are playing in Summer League aren't playing in the roles that they would, during the regular season on the team that they're on as currently constructed. So it's kind of fun to see these guys also be able to kind of just get outside of their little box and bring out the bag a little bit. Like, let's see what all you could possibly do in a situation where it's your team to run at this point. Looking forward to seeing MarJon, as I mentioned. I'm looking forward to seeing Mamu, just seeing how different he looks, if he looks any different from last season as another two-way guy. AJ Green, Hugo, like it's just some guys on this team where I'm like, okay, like we got 2 draft picks in addition to MarJon. We got 2. We won't see Hugo stateside probably anytime this season. So being able to get a little peek about what that could be is interesting. It's just Summer League is selling optimism. It's selling hope. It's selling what can be, the possibilities. And I'm desperate for basketball. I was watching Chris Middleton highlights yesterday in my free time.
I saw that. I was very happy about that.
I am ready for some more Bucks basketball, and Summer League is going to be like a first chance to see some of the young guys out there, see some actual draft picks for the team playing, and I am pretty excited about that. In addition, I just think the league's in a pretty good space, like talent-wise. Like Summer League, the product might not be all that great, but just thinking about where all of these different teams currently sit and what they're hoping that they're going to be able to get from their draft picks, again, selling hope, selling optimism about what can be. Summer League is full of it, and I am a basketball junkie at this point. I'm going through withdrawals, and I need it.
I totally agree. We've mentioned this a little, I think yesterday in the podcast when I was talking with Frank. I spent last weekend covering the Australian national team, and I was back in the arena. I was watching basketball. It had only been a few weeks, but I was completely irrationally excited by the whole experience. It was great fun. So I'm looking forward to watching the Bucks in Summer League as well. And I mentioned this to Frank also yesterday, that with Summer League, when you have a first-round rookie, if he plays really well, it's great for the hype. If he plays poorly, it's just Summer League. So you just walk away feeling good about it, and just, either way, you tell yourself what you need to hear. But the Bucks are doing great stuff because they're posting the hype reels. They're posting MarJon knocking down threes, and people are like, oh, okay, hang on a second. This was a question for this guy. And people that have followed MarJon Beauchamp closer than I have said that, certainly through, his early years, junior basketball, whatever you want to call it, he was a pretty good shooter, or he's a decent shooter. So I am curious to see how that levels out. I think historically, of course, there's some guys that shoot well at Summer League, but sometimes there's a eagerness / desire for volume shooting issue, and sometimes it's not the most efficient standard of basketball of all time. You're playing a bunch of games in a row, everyone's trying to prove themselves, so we'll see what happens with MarJon. But just a few little highlights I think I'll be excited about. You mentioned Hugo Besson, so this is really interesting because I saw some people a little surprised that he was on the Summer League roster. I don't know why you would be surprised that he was on the Summer League roster. He was in America the last couple of months. He went to the Combine. He was at the draft. So he's in America. I always kind of just assumed he was going to stay an extra 2 weeks and play in Summer League, because even if, and this is the thing, I know that the reports were that he was going to be a draft and stash guy, but if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you've drafted this guy. And not only have you drafted him, you've bought in to draft this guy. Why the hell wouldn't you have a look at him at Summer League? And if he plays really well, why wouldn't you rule out the possibility that he could be in America this year? I just don't think it's as black and white or cut and dry as what potentially, it's I guess assumed that it's going to be. I mean, if he plays really well in Summer League, why would you say, all right, go play in France or Europe or wherever he wants to play? You'd give him a shot in preseason, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I think part of it, maybe people just didn't realize he was here to begin with, and they were just like, we drafted a guy who played overseas, and they're talking about he won't play
having lunch with Kane every day out in Australia. Kane won't come back to Milwaukee, so why would Hugo? That's fair.
Maybe that's where they're at. So I can see why people were like, oh, he's actually here, I get to see him. But again, it adds to the excitement because it's what can be. Like, if he does exceed expectations at Summer League, do they bring him on? Does it make more sense as to why, right now they're already like, okay, we're going to cut Luca or waive Luca. We're going to just clear up some roster space right now, and we're just going to see how this plays out. Because I know you guys talked about it, but like the Serge Ibaka signing was kind of like, oh, Didn't see that coming at this at this stage right now, because normally the Bucks like to have that open roster spot at the end of the bench. So I get it, but who knows? Maybe Hugo saw that too, and he was like, "They don't think I'm ready yet, but I am." And if you've seen Rise yet, the Disney Plus movie on the Antetokounmpo family, they emphasized the fact, like during the movie when Giannis was going through his draft process, how he was continuously saying, "I need to play. It's not a over, like I'm playing this year in the States." So who knows? Maybe Hugo got to watch the movie over the weekend and was like, "You know what? I also want to make sure I'm playing in the NBA this upcoming season." Who knows?
I still haven't seen Rise.
Oh, Kane, what are you waiting on here?
I'm waiting for someone to give me a password to their Disney Plus. No, I'm gonna watch it. It's been busy. I had a busy few days. Last point on Hugo, just potentially roster wise. I think, and I've said this, and this is just completely baseless from me, but given how much the Bucks social media has been hyping up Mamu, I believe he's going to be with the team this year in some capacity, two-way, whatever. I don't know. Could be wrong, but I'm just assuming.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing just how he looks, because he had some flashes of some things, of some skills where I'm like, now that could be useful to the team. Like if you're able to shoot at a consistent clip, if you can put the defense together, like the hustle is there, the drive is there. He's put up some pretty interesting numbers in the G League when he got assigned there. It made me go like, oh, like you got that down there. Like that's interesting. Like I want to see how those skills can translate to the Bucks, if it can, really, more than anything. So again, being able to see him in Summer League, where he's kind of one of the top draws on the team, one of the top guys, I'm just looking forward to seeing what that looks like for him and seeing what all is in the bag that he can pull out during this couple of weeks.
Yeah, and streaky 3-point shooter, so that would be nice if he could knock down some threes as well. I think that's something that would really, add to his value potentially as an NBA player. But in addition to that, so if he's there and whatever, two-way guy, there's nothing to suggest, by the way, that if the Bucks think, okay, we don't want to use a roster spot on Hugo Besson, they could just do the same thing they did with Mamu, have him on a two-way, have him with the NBA team a lot of the time, and playing some herd basketball as well. So again, the report suggests that he will be a draft and stash. Yeah, perhaps that's the highest percentage chance of what ends up happening to him this year. But also, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he is a guy that ends up being with the team, which again, that's why perhaps Summer League. Last year we were still basking in the glory of an NBA championship. We had nothing to even watch Summer League for. This year, it's a little bit different. So we've got 2 draft picks playing. There's going to be a little bit of intrigue there, and we'll see what those guys can do. But I saw someone tweeting earlier this morning about NBA championship odds. So now is the time to talk about betonline.net. And the Bucks, Camille, I think the last time I checked, which was this morning, bad hosting here, but they were the 5th favorites overall on betonline.net, 2nd favorites in the East behind the Boston Celtics. How do you feel about that?
I could see why they would put us behind Boston in the East. I'm curious to know what other 3 teams in the West were over the Bucks, if you have that information handy.
Like it would have been Golden State, the Suns from Phoenix, and who was even in the Western Coast? Dallas. It might have been the Dallas Mavericks. But anyway, they lost Jalen Brunson. So, look, if you're into this type of thing, you might be able to find some value there. You might think that the Bucks are being undersold at betonline.net, but jump on. Have a look at baseball as well. We can see Camille's wearing a lovely Milwaukee Brewers jersey today. NFL futures as well. That's going to roll around really quickly. We're already basically in the middle of July. So, football is going to be here next month, I guess, preseason football. So jump on there, check out the NFL stuff, MMA, boxing, golf, all sorts of stuff at betonline.net. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. I'm curious about free agency outrage, Camille. As you know, I spend a lot of time in the YouTube comments, and there is a few prime suspects that I always end up going back and forth with, and it's sometimes some people are hard to please. That's the reality. Some people are hard to please. There is a desire to be angry about something Is there anything from this free agency period, and I haven't had a chance to speak to you about this, is there anything from this free agency period, whether it's the Bucks, whether it's what other teams did, is there anything that causes you outrage? And if outrage is a little too dramatic, is there anything that makes you pause? Is there anything that makes you skeptical or concerned?
This people are gonna be like, you're making this up, but I'm so serious when I say this. It just made me excited to see what the Bucks are going to do, because really what free agency said to me was that the Bucks were like, you know what? We're a championship level team. Mm-hmm. We're not really far away. There's not really much we need that we think that we need in this moment that we can feasibly get with our current salary cap situation that can vastly improve our odds. So the Bucks were able to bring back Bobby, pick up Joe Ingles, bring back Carter, bring back Wes. That's a pretty good haul, if you ask me, because this is banking on Joe Ingles, and it's a flyer for sure. When he got injured, I remember saying, like, it's tough to have an ACL injury. He was already starting to lose a little bit of the defensive prowess that he had at the time. So I wonder how he's going to look coming off an ACL injury. Like, is that going to zap the last bit that he had defensively? And then how does it also affect him offensively? Because he's a maestro on the pick and roll. He's a knockdown shooter. He just does so many little things well. He's literally a perfect role player for the Bucks, assuming you get the version of him when he was healthy. And understanding that that's his ceiling, that he could be a perfect role player to fit on this championship contending team. I'm here for the risk. I get it. I'm all in for it. Getting Bobby back was a huge boom to the team. And then bringing back Carter and bringing back Wes. Having Bobby come back and Carter come back adds two more guys to the roster who are now under 30, who you can have a shot. You can say, hey, how does your timeline align with Giannis's? So Carter might be somebody who you're like, he's just going to be a regular season rotation guy, but he will really pick you up 94 feet. And we know that Bud loves the defense. And it seems like this offseason also the Bucks just kind of leaned more into defense. I mean, again, it's bringing back a lot of our own bodies, but there's no Brent Forbes signing this summer. Mm-hmm. There's no Grayson Allen acquisition so far, where it's like, okay, this is somebody who's coming in who's known for offense. They're here to spark, and that's what they're going to do. This offseason has felt more like we're bringing back pieces we know that work, that play some defense, and we like our chances to get against anybody else. Boston being able to get Brogdon for some paper clips and a Pokemon card. Didn't expect that, but Boston definitely is deeper. Boston was in the NBA Finals. They're going to be very good this upcoming season. Miami lost PJ Tucker, and we don't know exactly what's happening with Kevin Durant, but if I had to bet money, bet online, I would not bet my money on him going to Miami. No. So I'm not sure if Miami's actually even going to be as good as they were last season without PJ Tucker. It depends on how the rest of free agency goes for them. Philly is better, but Philly still doesn't put fear in me. They haven't, I don't think, ever really. I see the potential there, of course, but I'm not going to be Charlie Brown with the football when it comes to Philly and saying they're going to be amazing. And then the other teams in the East, where it's like Chicago getting Drummond, re-signing Levine, Atlanta getting Murray to pair with Young. It's like, that's cool. I just don't think they're better than what the Bucks have right now today without knowing where KD and where Kyrie go. So free agency, I've been cool with it. I'm glad that they were able to bring back who they were able to bring back, and picking up Ingles was a boom. So I'm cool with our free agency. I'm very cool with it. And if MarJon looks great in Summer League, like you said, we're gonna get the hype train going.
Oh yeah.
And even more excited then.
So I thought, and by the way, let me just say, the Chicago Bulls, I'm glad you mentioned that. How do you go from signing Tristan Thompson last year and then saying, well, let's just get Andre Drummond? And how does he get $6 million in this economy? I'm not sure. But anyway, the good old Chicago Bulls, we love it. One guy that we haven't really brought up, and I think I'm going to do an extended pod about this man. It's a very familiar face to Milwaukee Bucks fans, Dante DiVincenzo, who has been someone that has been brought up a couple of times. It's been really interesting. I think and the deal that he signed was, let's be honest, probably lower than he would have been hoping for and what many people thought he was going to get. This is a fascinating situation with Dante. I've said it before. I think that, I think it was an amicable split. Let's just say that. I think that he was happy to move on.
Yes.
And he went to the Kings. And I think that the idea would have been play with Sacramento, get heaps of minutes. You're going to make yourself some cash. That didn't really work out. He was coming off the bench, I think, when potentially he wouldn't have wanted to come off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings don't end up offering him any money. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to be there. That would make some sense. So then he's on the open market where there just isn't a lot of money out there. And he ends up taking a deal that is well below what I certainly would have imagined 12 months ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think he's in a good spot to potentially recoup that value and next contract earn some money. But I guess when I've thought about this, and maybe this is me being a little too, trying to bend the situation a little bit too much. But I just think that if he had stayed with Milwaukee, of course, being restricted free agent, whatever, Milwaukee could have had a decision to make to pay him, similar, I guess, to what they got with Jordan Moore. But I think if he had stayed with Milwaukee, just by virtue of being with the Bucks and probably playing some playoff basketball, he would have ended up earning more money. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that the Warriors got him. I think it's great value for Golden State, but I don't necessarily think it was a situation that would have been different if he had stayed with the Bucks, outside of the fact that we would have loved to have him in the rotation for the postseason. That's undeniable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As soon as I saw that he went to Golden State, and I was like, that's a great place for him to land, given how the market ended up playing out with Sacramento. I was like, why did you even trade for him in the first place? If this is, and I was like, all right, not my business, not my team, whatever. He landed somewhere that I think is going to be a better fit for him, especially with Gary Payton II going to Portland. Like there's a hole for a guy to come off the bench and play some great defense, knock down your open shots. And GP2 got a little bit better at it this past season, but like you would think that Dante would be able to produce at a higher level from three than what Gary Payton's been able to do for Golden State. So you like that there. They might lose something a little bit defensively from what Gary Payton's able to bring them, but it's not so much of a loss to the sense where like now it's a negative. Like Dante is still a good defender. He might not harass you in the same way that Gary Payton did, but he is going to be a pretty sound defender. He's going to rebound, use his athleticism in that way. And I think he is a great fit for Golden State. Maybe he ends up on like a Bobby Portis type of deal where it's like, I'm coming here to show you I can play in a situation where when I'm healthy, play real meaningful minutes for a contending team and show my worth in that way. I hope the best for Dante. I really do.
Me too. I like that guy. I hope it works out for him. And really a good piece of business from the Warriors to say, okay, well, we're not going to pay $27 million for Payton over 3 years, $9 million per year. Why don't we just sign Dante DiVincenzo for half that amount? We know that they're battling the luxury tax as well. And I guess if there was any frustration from Bucks fans towards what they've done in the offseason, I guess that's the type of move that you're looking at. Now, again, I don't think the Bucks were in even a chance to reacquire Dante. I don't think he would have come back. I don't think it would have been possible. But I can understand. That's why there are some people saying, well, you signed Joe Ingles. Why didn't you try and get some other player? One of the guys we mentioned was Bruce Brown. So I definitely understand that. But all things considered, I just don't think there was a lot of room to move for the Bucks to improve the team. You had to take a bit of a swing, and they did that. So we'll see how it plays out. Camille, I know how excited you are for Summer League. How are you going to possibly get through the next 3 days?
Guess we're going to try to work. Just work, let the hours go by with me, making the money and, then turn the TV on. Like, oh, Bucks, we're finally here, and enjoy it. Although I am going to see Thor on Friday, so I'm going to have to probably DVR the Bucks game.
Great Australian. Yes,
Mr. Helmsworth.
That's right. Exactly right. All right. Make sure you check out the Locked On NBA podcast as well for all the national stuff. Still plenty going on. There's a few names still out there. Big names still out there. So we'll see what happens with them over the next few days. Camille, do you know who was the big winner of this podcast?
Who was the big winner of this podcast?
Your internet connection, because it survived.
Yeah, I haven't heard too much thunder rumbling either. So I'm like, hopefully it already went past, and hopefully there's not too much more coming.
It's incredible stuff. I'm very impressed as someone with a very dodgy internet connection. We'll be back tomorrow. Justin's going to be with me for that. I'm going to try and get the boss involved, the Lockman, for a Joe Ingles extravaganza. I haven't reached out to him. I don't know if he listens to us. He's got a lot of podcasts to potentially listen to, so I doubt it. But if you're listening, David, let's talk about Joe Ingles sometime in the future. All right, let's wrap it up. We'll see you guys tomorrow with Justin.